Somewhere south of the Alps, Europe starts to feel different. Not suddenly, not at a border checkpoint, but gradually. The language changes, the architecture shifts, even the rhythm of daily life starts to feel different. And the only way to really notice it is to not skip it. A few days ago, I left Berlin and started heading south across Europe by train. No flights, no shortcuts, just following the rail lines all the way towards Italy. And today, that journey continues. My day started in Innsbruck, Austria. It's a city famous for winter sports, hosting the Olympics, and Red Bull, well, sponsoring pretty much everything that goes fast and makes your mom nervous. But it's not winter, and today we're not chasing any bobsleds at 500 miles per hour. The city's quiet this morning, the mountains are glowing, and it feels peaceful. My hotel's on the outskirts of town in the neighborhood of Tivoli, but it's cozy, and the breakfast isn't just good. It comes with the kind of view people pay extra for. If you escape the breakfast just one floor up to the toilet, over here is this building that was used for the Winter Olympics, and then over on the other side is just like the old town and all that. The place was charging 113 euros a night, and with a breakfast like this, it feels a little more worth it. But my time here is short today, so let's head to the old town. My walk over here was super quiet until I hit this old town area that I just got to. First stop, the Golden Roof. Built in 1500, it's basically Innsbruck's most famous landmark. Why it's famous, honestly, I'm not sure, but it is very shiny. And why is the city even called Innsbruck, you might ask? Well, this is the Inn River, and this is Brücke, so Brücke, Innsbruck, the bridge that goes over the Inn. But right down the way, there is this little food market, or Markthalle, so I'm gonna go check that out and see what they've got in there. Markthalle just means market hall in German. I've been told not to pass through Innsbruck without stopping here. And over here in this region of Austria, they're really known for their smoked dried meats, and there's just a bunch of them here, but they're very hard on the stomach, so I might be skipping those. It's a nice place to visit, but what I was really looking for is a place to sit down and eat something.
Try it, Korean fried chicken. That one is a hoisin pulled pork. You love the chicken though.
Yeah, okay, I'll try it. Okay. All right, I'm gonna take it to go if that's cool. Thank you. Who doesn't love free samples? But I really needed a full meal to keep getting through the day, so I tried out something completely random. For 10 euros, you can get a kind of Austria meets curry dish. Clearly it did the trick. But at this point in the day, Innsbruck was clearly feeling like a different city than the one I'd woken up to. The old town can really get packed, which I guess makes sense. This is one of the main stops through the Alps. But when you take a second and step back a bit, you start to notice what really defines this place. Innsbruck isn't just a city in the mountains, it's a city squeezed into them. And there's nothing quite like being surrounded by the Alps, but not having to walk up big hills to actually check them out. Whoa! With limited time, I'd still thought about heading into the mountains, and even stopped by the funicular station. The station is very modern, it looks nice, but between the crowds, the time, and the happy hour price of 47 euros per person, it seemed wiser to just spend my last hour in town at the free park next door. By the way, it's called the Hofgarten. And it's of course completely free to visit here. And I mean, if I had decided to pay those 47 euros, I'd be up there in the clouds today anyway. Even without leaving the city center, Innsbruck feels like the Alps at their peak. But just a few hours south, that starts to change. So to see what that actually looks like, I headed back to the train station I'd arrived to 20 hours before. And it only took me a little walk to get over here back to the station. But my train is about 40 minutes delayed, so I'm just going to be hanging out again, sitting on a bench. Could be worse, because these views are pretty stunning. Actually, that wasn't my train, but I thought it looked cool. Check out that brow raise. Delayed about as long as promised, this is my train.
Le porte del treno si apriranno sul lato destro.
As the train made its way out of the station, this is where things started to change. For centuries, this route through the Alps has connected the German-speaking world with Italy. The railway only dates back to the 1800s, but the route is actually much older than that. Long before trains, the Romans used the same corridor, the easiest way to move between the Germanic north and the south. But sitting on a modern train like this, it's kind of hard to feel that. And I just made it over here into Italy. And a kind of cool thing about where I'm traveling through right now in Italy is that they actually predominantly speak German. Basically, when the Austro-Hungarian Empire ended, Italy got a little bit of the German-speaking part of it, and people still speak German here today. And I guess this region is known in Italy for having kind of typical Germanic stuff, but one thing that's really cool is that you're going through the Dolomites most of the way. As we move forward, the landscape just slowly shifts, when you can see it at least. A lot of that ride ended up being in tunnels, but we're just getting over to Bolzano. Looks like whoever owns this land near the train station loves to grow grapes. Oh yes, and I should say, Bolzano is the Italian name. In German they call it Bozen. But sometimes all you get is just a look at the city while taking the train through in Europe, and that's perfectly okay. And it's Italy, and I'm no longer on a train now. This is the town of Trento, and it's where I'm staying tonight. I'd heard it's a nice town, sure, but the real reason I'm spending the night here is because it was the cheapest place along the train route. And it's a pretty nice place. It's in this old Italian building. The bathroom is on point, of course, as always in Italy, and they've got their bidet right here. Looks like some nice Italian soap. Made in Italy lotion, made in Italy pH-friendly intimate gel, and everything is just like really sparkly clean here. I mean, I feel kind of bad stepping here with my dirty shoes. I should probably take them off actually. And to get breakfast, you actually have to like do this kind of thing, and this view is like, well, let's see. I mean, I was really thinking of staying in Bolzano, but Trento is beautiful. And the weirdest thing, but also maybe the coolest thing about this room is that there's a sauna here. And so far on my trip across the Alps, this is the cheapest place that I'm staying at. It only cost me about 98 euros a night with the city tax in, so that's a pretty good deal. That evening, I took a quick walk around the area and reacquainted myself with one of Italy's greatest inventions. Proper, cheap pizza. When I woke up the next day, the views were stunning, but I had only one thing on my mind: the next meal. The place is more like a rented apartment than a traditional hotel, but that doesn't stop them from including a nice traditional Italian breakfast. So I think I'm going to take a few hours over here in Trento and go out and explore these medieval streets. It's not just the architecture here that feels different from the Germanic world. It's the pace, the details, and the fact that it's completely acceptable to get tired after visiting a church for 10 minutes and stop for yet another coffee. De Italia or de Austria? Ah, okay. Bolzano. Ah, Italiano. I didn't realize my broken Italian question would start a bit of a heated discussion. Che pronto?
Che bontà.
Ah, che bonta. Cosa buona? Oh. I hadn't even realized I was going for something so local. Loacker is actually best known for their Vienna-style wafers, little cookie things. The coffee's pretty good too. That second cup did it though, and now I was really ready to go. Right in front of the cafe, there are some walls that were built in the 13th century. Just another day in Italy. For the most part, the town of Trento was feeling totally Italian to me. So much different than life just back across the border in Austria. But there was one thing that was a little Germanic feeling. There seemed to be construction all over the place. Didn't make any difference for us though. My wife Rossa and I were loving being back in Italy. So, another stop in a church. Many of these churches, 500, 600, 700, 800 years old. And a nice little walk through town. But for me, this area that I'm walking in right now reminds me a lot of the super long, in fact I think it's the longest in the world, portico over in Bologna. And the focus that they have on making all their food products very artisanal and just nice in Italy is very apparent when you walk around. And there's some nice little gardens here on the way. Come on, Italy, you're beautiful. And bam, there's a castle here. It looks like a very beautiful castle. But unfortunately my train is pretty soon and you have to pay to go in, so since I just don't have enough time to actually give that castle the quality time it would deserve, I'm not going to go in, and I'm going to save my 10 euros for, I don't know, 10 cappuccinos maybe? And since my train's in about 40 minutes, I'm slowly making my way over to the train. But I just love in this northern part of Italy how much of this rose marble they use everywhere. You can see it's just like a very nice stone. It looks nice to the eye. And in Italy, it is super easy to buy regional train tickets right in the app. And it's about 7 euros per person from here over to Verona. It's a little over an hour's ride. Should be nice. And I guess the big thing I missed here in Trento is the Science Museum. But, I'll probably come back again. It's a pretty nice little town. For the whole hour, the landscape constantly shifted. I could have happily sat on this train for much more than an hour, lulling myself with the mountainous views, but I'd be back on board soon enough anyway. And I nearly fell asleep, but I'm here in Verona now, so let's see what's in this city. And I took the train over to the Porta Nuova train station, which is about 2 kilometers from, I guess you would call it the touristic area or the kind of old city center. But before getting into the heart of Verona, I'd heard about the perfect place for our late lunch. But let me warn you, it's pizza again. But this is not any old pizza. Ciao. Grazie. So basically here you get 3 choices for the pizza. It's a round one, a palla or like a stick, or al taglio. And this drink, Kinotto or Kino, is not that popular outside of Italy, but it's excellent and it matches perfectly with like any pizza. It looks like Coca-Cola, but it tastes even better. The owner Vincenzo even came around to chat for a while.
La
pizza Verona.
Sì, sì, è il gusto Verona.
Pero qual es tu favorito?
Ah, la mia favorita.
Grazie.
Tutte buone sono.
We didn't exactly speak the same language, but somehow that never matters much in Italy. And it seems like the owner over at this pizzeria is really focused on not just making the best pizza, but trying to make it healthy. This one's got radicchio on it, mozzarella, some tomato sauce, and I think it's like a wurst, like a sausage. And this is the Verona pizza, so it's like as local as it gets. And this one? Pistachio pizza. It looks like it's got something similar to mortadella. It doesn't look exactly like mortadella. And some cheese. Let's give it a try. Let's try the pistachio first. The flour is like what holds this thing together. Vincenzo sources his flour from the nearby countryside. It's much darker than your average pizza flour, and the dough includes some spelt. You can see that. In fact, the whole concept behind this pizzeria is to source ingredients as locally as possible. Let's give this a try now. How they manage to keep their prices so reasonable, I don't know. That radicchio, I don't know if it's exactly radicchio, some kind of cabbage from Verona. Really makes this thing like have a nice balance. It's a little bit sweet, but there's also a nice flavor from that sausage. Like you can just tell that the meat is really high quality, and it's also a little bit sweet. There's like a sweet, salty mix going on here. But again, this pizza dough is like next level. I mean, it's one of the best I've ever had actually. It's not salty at all, but it holds everything together. And it's kind of chewy. I really like it. It's almost like eating Ethiopian injera. That's what it's like. Last bite, unfortunately. After our meal, one of the other employees also came over and gave us some tips on what to do in Verona.
A really nice bar if you also like want to take aperitivo is one near Ponte Pietra.
Okay.
It's called La Terrazza.
Okay, I can remember that.
And it has a view on the Adige.
Okay.
So it's very nice.
Alright.
Okay, La
La
Terrazza
Terrazza is the best one. Okay, thanks for the tip. Don't worry, we'll put her recommendation to the test. So I'm gonna head out and see if I can't find some gelato and some coffee. Typical Italian stuff. First, a quick diversion. I really didn't even plan to go here, but I happened to be walking by. So I don't think I'd advise anyone to come to the city just for this, because it's swarming with people. They want to go out on Juliet's balcony. And apparently if you touch the breast of Juliet, what is wrong with these people? Then you'll be happy forever?
I just made it up.
But we'd seen the famous balcony / house / courtyard, whatever. It was finally ice cream time. Well, this park is quite quaint. It's a nice place to walk to a gelateria. Let's see, gelato, ciao. There's simply nothing quite like a good gelateria in Italy. Looking pretty good. And the fancy ice cream mechanisms all around made me think I'd walked into the right place. So we got a little education on the flavors of the day. Lampone. What's in lampone?
Raspberry.
We learn Italian one word every day at the gelateria. And voila. Grazie. Let's see what we got here. Pistachio. Card, please. And gianduja. Well, at €3 for the smallest size, you can definitely get cheaper gelato in Italy. But as far as the quality goes, this is definitely above average. And although sometimes I like to sit down and eat my gelato, wow, that looks cool. Today, I think I'm gonna take a little bit more of a walk around because my time's a little bit limited. And this place is really beautiful. And this is right around the area where the Duomo of Verona actually is. And I thought all of that pink marble over in Trento was impressive, but here it's like really next level. It's also an impressive material when they carve stuff out of it. It's even pink on the ground here. And I saw this cloister, so I'm just gonna stop in here and quietly see what they have. And my God, this place is just really breathtaking. You know that feeling when you just instantly walk into somewhere and feel at peace? That's what this cloister will do to you. And if you're not staying here for like multiple days, just popping into the little corners and seeing what there is without paying any entrance fees is probably a nice thing to do. And it's coffee time again, so I think I'll take the lady over at the pizzeria up on her tip and check out the terrazza. Ciao. To drink coffee outside is okay? Ah, we're lucky.
I only have this spot right here.
I think it will work for us if it's all you got. Yeah.
You have more meals.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much. My gosh, this is a pretty place. But this river that winds through Verona is called the Adige. I really like the fresh air that it seems to bring from the Alps. And then when you get to the other side of the river, there's these hills with stuff on top of them. And this little terrazzo bar al ponte is a great place to just enjoy a coffee with a view. And even this random table that I'm sitting at is made out of pink or red-ish marble. And it's actually called Verona marble, by the way. And that wasn't a green screen over at the cafe or something. This river is real. Over there you see the Duomo. Beyond it, you can't see it, but there's the Basilica. Up there is a huge castle, and that way the river just keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on. And that bridge sure is beautiful to look at. But there's a train in 42 minutes. So I'm gonna go walk over to one of the other train stations they have here in Verona, just because it's slightly closer and I don't want to deal with any connecting buses or anything like that. And I'll see if I can't get the train over to Venice. It should only take like an hour and 10 minutes or so. Goodbye, Paolo. Goodbye, Verona. And I've got my ticket, but I just didn't feel like taking out my phone this time, so I used one of these machines. And when you buy a ticket from the machine in Italy, you must always validate it.
3507 di Trenitalia.
Turns out train delays in Europe aren't limited to Austria and Germany. Eventually a train showed up. This one looks like the right train. Venice, Venezia, yay! For this part of the ride, the drama of the Alps was already far away. Instead, out the window, you get a mix of greenery and industry with some hills on the horizon further off. There's a few stops along the way, but the journey doesn't feel long. And just like that, from flat Germany to a very different kind of flat, the Venetian Lagoon. That was the end of my 1,000-kilometer journey. It's kind of crazy, because when you fly across Europe, you skip all of this. But traveling over land, from Berlin through the Alps and down into Italy, you actually get to watch the continent change all around you. The architecture shifts, the languages start to blur, and you begin to understand how all of this connects. Maybe Europe isn't dramatic because it's different. Maybe it only feels dramatic because we usually skip the part where it changes. But no matter how you get here, this is Venice. For better or worse, there's nowhere else like it. And if you want to see what it's like here, how I avoided the crowds, found a great place to stay, and experienced Venice beyond the obvious, I've got that video right here for you to watch. Thanks for joining me on this trip across 5 different countries on 12 different trains. Don't forget to hit like, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one.